Welcome, champions. My name is Eric P.J. Davis, and I'm an indie filmmaker. This is Arcadia.
Hello, champions. My name is Sean Pink, and I've been working on this big writing project called Arcadia for the past couple years, and we're really excited to share it with you. And I want to start by introducing the team. There's Dylan, Doug, and the man who started it all, Eric P.J. Davis. Eric, tell us what got you inspired by this whole story in the first place. What made you want to do this?
I mean, it comes down to I love good storytelling. I love also games that can connect with you and inspire you on why people want to play video games in the first place. What happens if you combine those both together? Why do people play games? Why do people watch shows? I think it all comes down to people want to connect with characters. And that's what our show is about, connecting with these characters.
So you first had this idea based on your experience with games and your inspiration from great TV shows and how that make good characters, and you have characters in your life in these games, and you kind of wanted to bring them all to life. So you wanted to write something. And if I remember when we first started this, you had it in mind that it would be like 6 30-minute episodes. But now we're at 10 one-hour episodes for the first season, right? Got bigger than you thought. And that's part of why you wanted some other people to help you out with this, right? So introduce some of the other people. Who else is working on this with you? Dylan?
Yeah, first there's Dylan. Me and Dylan go way back, probably a decade now. But we got introduced on an indie film project, Neon Dead. And I thought he was super talented. But let's hear it from Dylan himself.
Thank you for saying that. It was so kind. And yeah, the check's in the mail, so don't you worry. Keep saying those sweet things. I'll keep sending you that sweet money. No, but yeah, Eric, it has been just about a decade since we first met on Neon Dead set, and yeah, I've been very fortunate enough that you have brought me back for various projects that you've been working on over the last couple of years. So yeah, when we got to do Heroes of Time for the anthology series Dead by Midnight, I was super excited because I'm a huge fantasy nerd. So, getting to be a sorcerer was like on my bucket list of things to do. And I got to do that with you. So yeah, I'm super happy and stoked to be back doing this on a much bigger scale.
Now we're
hate to interrupt you, Dylan, but I want to point out that movie you guys worked on together with technical Dead by Midnight, 11 p.m. Central, right?
We did do that after. We did.
Oh, that was after what? No, that was after Heroes of Time?
No, that was after Neon Dead.
Neon Dead. So Neon Dead, then Heroes of Time, then Dead by Midnight?
Flip that around. So Dead by Midnight was an anthology. Fortunate enough, when Corey Haas, he's one of the creators of the show, Dead by Midnight, there needed to be shorts, and I was like, I just want to be part of one of them. Let me be part of it, and he allowed me to make one of the shorts, Preview Dolls, which actually I got one of my friends, which was you, Sean, to help me write that. And Dylan was part of the project, but I didn't start working with Dylan until the sequel, Dead by Midnight 2, which was where Heroes of Time got implemented. But not talking about Sean. Let's jump up to Sean.
Well, actually, let's go to Doug first. I've got my fair share of time already on screen. Let's hear how we got Doug in the mix.
All right. So after that, again, we needed someone who knew actually how to make games. I mean, I knew how to make stories. I had history in making videos, indie films, but when it came down to the straight technicalities of video gaming, Doug, let's have you talk about that. Expertise do you have?
My name is Doug Riviere. I have been programming and making games for about 7 years now. I have worked for contract work on a lot of different games. You might have heard of Overwatch. I got to do a little bit of work with a game called World of Warcraft. No, I'm not going to say that. Sorry for anyone watching. That's a reference to pirate software. No, my dad does not work at Blizzard. No, and I have worked at the University of North Georgia on multiple different projects, with the programming club and with the military board on some projects that I can talk about at another time.
Doug, in addition to like I don't know, software type work, haven't you done some creatives like poetry and stuff like that?
Oh yes, I have written multiple poems that have made it into books, and one that a long time ago got some minor awards, but I didn't think it was that good.
Artists usually don't think their works are as good as the credit they get for them. That's a common thing.
Yeah. But I was talking with Eric about this show he was working on. I was like, well, why not this? And he was like, is that how that works? I was like, well, if you have it work like this, yes. And we started figuring out how the game works, how the game functions as a game, how people have fun with it, or why is the game fun.
So when it comes down to it, I realized that in order to make the show, there was a lot of different things I had to tackle. One, we have to actually, again, make a game. We need somebody who understands the gaming mechanics. But also, just like I love all these TV shows, we have to make a good show. The actual show itself has to have a solid story. And just not that, the game itself has to have a solid story. If you don't have that, it's just going to be a big mess. So those are big things we had to, at the beginning, figure out how we're going to tackle. This took a couple of months, maybe even a year. It took us 3 years to make the script. But overall,
yeah, in the beginning, we were like working on sort of like outlines and themes. And Eric, you had a lot of very specific ideas, certain characters you wanted to have, certain dilemmas you wanted for them to hit. But it took a while to kind of like piece it out into like a general arc. And then we went back and kind of filled in the details. You know, we knew like in a certain scene, these two characters were going to interact, and it, you know, the information needed to be conveyed that they're going to, you know, make a new character and go into the city. But the details of their dialogue, we had to hammer out. And the personality, the dialogue is going to depend on the personality the characters end up having. And we have dozens of characters, so each of those little moments, it's good that we had kind of an outline for everything, but still took a lot to fill in the details.
Yeah.
I remember when we were working on Creepy Dolls, Eric, you asked me to help you write that. And at that time, I was just watching a lot of It's Always Sunny. And so that kind of inspired me to have these sort of harebrained characters, sort of, you know, like a haunted house thing, but make the characters be like, you know, Mac and Dee and Charlie or whatever, how they've got weird, crazy ideas, and you add a little bit of comedy to the horror, which is a often married up couple.
And I remember, like, when you're doing that, I had to balance out. I want to tell an original story, but we also want to have this inspiration from the show. So where's that balance? And I remember you would sometimes spit like an idea, and I'm like, John, we can't do that. And by the way, winded up being the best thing. One of the ideas I remember in Creepy Dolls was I want to tell a chronological order story. People go into a house that's haunted with dolls, and you were like, let's have people tell a story. I'm like, you can't have people tell a story in an anthology in 15 minutes. But it honestly worked because the editing makes it so much easier. Like when you're telling a story and you're jumping back and forth between two different stories, the editing just tells the story in itself.
Yeah, editing is a format of filmmaking, or a dynamic of filmmaking that is hugely underrated. Both how much effort it takes and how much impact it has. You always hear best actor, best actress, best director. Sometimes hear and talk about best writer. Best editor should be up there, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was an idea we had to like have the characters talk about this crazy thing that happened. And then we would back up and show the crazy thing that would happen. And the people listening, like, what, can hardly believe it, except they're all crazy people, so you can almost believe whatever crazy thing happened was real.
And are they even telling the truth? Is this a story?
Dolls, but I really meant to segue that into the idea of how our original idea for this story was twofold, right? You wanted to tell the story of the video game, right? So there's sort of this fantasy element. You know, we've got knights and princess and wizards and, you know, D&D-ish type elements that we want to, but we wanted to make it a little deeper. You know, we created interesting dilemmas of like, you have one character who's trying to be a pacifist, but in, you know, his, I don't want to give away
Let's
details
get
of the
back to the
story,
task
but you
at
know,
hand.
he's not in a world where that's going to fly, right? So, but we try to see what we could do with that. But at the same time, we have characters playing the game. We wanted them to be characters too. We like the people who play video games, they have lives, right? And whether they're, you know, I don't know, going through a divorce or struggling with their job or their parents want to kick them out, or you can imagine just the normal things in people's day-to-day lives. And they kind of escape that when they go through this adventure of a game. So we were trying to show both elements of that. And at this time, I was watching Succession, a hugely popular, successful show that was focusing on, you know, these wealthy, powerful people in a media conglomerate that are all kind of jockeying for position, both within a company and for the love of their father. And without getting too much into it, I had the idea that maybe we could have the executives of the company that makes this game also be part of our story. That some of them, that like some of the people who make a game might play the game, right? You know, and that would give them a connection, and it would give us another element of you know, appeal, another dynamic to be dealing with. So you've got sort of average Joe characters, got fantasy adventure, and you know, maneuvering of tech executives that all kind of intertwined into our story.
Yeah.
And for better or worse, that's part of why it ballooned up, you know, from 6 30-minute episodes to 10 hour-long episodes.
So, what are we really about? Quite simple. We're just passionate filmmakers trying to connect with you, make our dreams come true. So, if you have any questions, leave a comment below. We'll try our best to answer the questions without any spoilers. Thank you for watching this video, and be ever vigilant.